Okay. Good morning, everybody. I was trying to find the video to play, but I don't know. This is a new, I guess, banner in the background, but I can't find it anyway. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our weekly briefing here at Olam. Today, I'll be your host as well as speaker. Was here with my colleague Kana Golicha. He is having a little bit of he'll be joining us next week. Kana, welcome. It's good to be back here. I actually been very, very busy. Go ahead and say hi
Thank,
to.
thank, thank you for the amazing audience. We are here back again for weekly briefing, and we hope to be updating you on few topics. Thank you.
Yes, I think we're going to be covering a lot of things, a lot of exciting, interesting things happening. I want us to, for me, you have some topic, I have some topic, and then if our audience are commenting, we'll also take some of their questions. The first one we'll talk about is the UN Security Council meeting. I think Obasanjo have traveled to Mekelle as well as Addis. There is a space on that one. Then you also mentioned the rebel taking more territory in South Shawa, and the mass arrest and especially the targeting of the Tigran in Addis, and the bombardment of Wallo, Kemise area for I think many days on the road. The government has been doing that. And then also the roadmap WOC is working on. I think that is a lot of topic to cover in 30 minutes. We started about a minute early today, and I'm happy that we are on time, and we'll try to keep it on literally on the 30-minute dot. And I wanted to thank everybody that's joining us and commenting, saying welcome. I see Fatia and Abdetu and Muna and all of you guys. I wanted to say we appreciate you. Kana, let me take your thoughts in the UN Security Council's meeting, because Obasanjo have traveled to Mekelle for the first time after in AU. He is the special envoy from AU, and then also the special envoy from the UN have traveled. And they said, when they briefed the Security Council, that they say there was a small window of opportunity. How did you see that? And I'll come back and make my point.
Yeah, you know what happened when Sajo was, elected as a mediator, and there was a rumors that he was refused to be accepted by both Ethiopian government and the rebels. But in this case, he has proven that he was able to travel there and able to even have, the photos with both leaders in Mekelle and both the government of the day in Addis. And the only concern is that the rebels are saying now there is no need of talk, because they are creating more advancements in terms of staging, walking to heading to Addis. And while there is that rumors of space, very little opportunities that. It seemed the government were never, honest with this mediation earlier, when the situation was much better, and but it's better late than never. That it's never happened, and that is why the rebels are saying now we have more. We have more opportunities in terms of having this mediation right now. It might favor us because we have made more advancements. And it is now a huge call, when it's like a late call to be made from the AU's Horn of Africa, like IGAD and international media bodies are making noise. And literally it means that this situation is getting out of the hand. The government is. I saw Abiy Ahmed tweeting yesterday and saying that his government is going to work with the international those who are willing to be the international friend, international community. And it surprised me, because he should have said that a long time ago, when the situation was even much better. And I see this from the UN Security Address. Now the AU's coming in. They are saying they are going to head to Nairobi to see having a conversation with regional leaders. That shows that this talk, whether the government of the day will like or will advance, and I see the advantage on the aspect of being rebels having more. The government have submitted themselves actually to what the rebels are demanding. That's my take.
Okay. That's very interesting. There's so much to say about that, Kana. Okay, on one side, AU was there for the whole year, said nothing. In fact, the AU president was in the side of Abiy. Now the TPLF or the armed struggle groups are winning. AU is ready to step in. Like so, the TPLF and the OLA have no reason to negotiate. Honestly, they're making the ground. That's on one side. But then also the interesting part is this, Kana, to me. He said he spoke to the Abiy. He spoke to the Tigray regional government. There is a small window of opportunity, but the time is limited. So here's what I'm saying. The opportunity is very small. The time is running out. So basically, there's really nothing. There's no window of opportunity. TPLF have laid down the interest or the demands clearly. They have put their demands is right there. It makes absolutely perfectly sense. Let me put myself, okay, absolutely sense. So TPLF have no reason to fight. So, and here you have Obasanjo, he's briefing the UN Security Council, to which we've seen it. I personally thought it was just obvious that he's just giving some hope to the international community, but the UN finally spoke on one voice, but it's a little bit too little too late, because from the way the rebel and or the Tigray regional government see is there's no need for them to negotiate. So that's how I saw it. But another thing is, here's the interesting thing: where UN special envoy is, while the U.S. Special Envoy and UN is, have traveled and trying to do this, at the same time, Abiy is arresting. I think this morning the report says that 72 UN bus driver or truck drivers and 22 UN employees were detained. 6 were released yesterday, and 16 still remains in prison. So Abiy is doing everything possible to I don't give a shit. But at the same time, the UN is still first. I'm disappointed extremely, obviously, when the UN side for many reasons. On one, it's a little too late. And two, they're still excluding and they're not talking the big elephant in the room. You have OLA, who is in Oromia, who are Oromos, thousands of political prisoners. People like Jawar Mohammed is still in prison. People like Bakar Garba is still in prison. Here Obasanjo want to talk about, he have talked to Shimalis Abdissa. Who is Shimalis? Isn't Shimalis extension of Abiy? What's the difference is talking to Abiy and Shimalis? It almost felt like a mockery to us for Oromos that he would not talk to OLA. He talked to TPLF. He did not say anything about pro-democracy, pro-nonviolence movement. It almost seems like even the international community, the US in particular, yes, we want democracy, we want stability in Ethiopia, but they don't really want to talk or work with the pro-democracy force. The pro-democracy and nonviolence force are in prison. They have not said anything. They are not bringing them to the table. There is not going to be any discussion that's going to be fruitful by excluding. So it's Abiy is I don't give a shit. He's giving them the middle finger, and UN is not acting. It's almost paralyzed. Yes, the US policy is very clear. Hands off, you know what I'm saying? They want to do as little as possible, because Ethiopia. Last night we were meeting with our ATF group. I'll say this and I'll give you a chance. One of our members say this: why isn't the US is doing strategic or surgical removal of Abiy to stabilize the country? But the fact of the matter is, the whole Ethiopia is deteriorating. It is infected. Even if you remove Abiy, there won't be stability. There won't be stability. So I think the US policy is just sit back and wait, and once whoever wins come to power, then they come in and try to rebuild the country. But the thing is that it's going to be much, much difficult to rebuild the country for many reasons. For one, for too long, there are so many oppressed people in that country have been subjugated, excluded from politics, have been arrested simply because of their identity. Deputy Special Envoy said Oromo make up 60% of Ethiopian population. And I'm not even talking about additional 5 to 9 million non-Oromos who live in Oromia. Yet Oromos are accused of to be radicals. Yet the UN made a statement or made a tweet. Antonio Guterres, the secretary, said, they're concerned about the violence in the northern Ethiopia. He particularly mentioned Tigray, Amhara, and Afar, and he went over there to mention Somalia. And our office have worked with the UN offices, both for Ethiopia in Geneva, as well as other offices, including New York. And in fact, just this week, I had a chance to meet, obviously with the official from the Senate side and staffers, and how they see what's going on. It almost kind of gives you like there is a resolution. There's a bill that came out from the U.S. Senate side. U.S. Senate side is very clear, so crystal clear where they want. They know Abiy is the past, and they have said it. AGOA is implemented, is removed, and all of that is good. It's too many topics to cover. But you have the House side, obviously, particularly Representative Bass, who is the chairman for Africa Subcommittee and an extremely influential person on the Congressional Black Caucus. So she is blocking because she has this radical Amharas or Nathaniel in her district who are feeding her misinformation, and she's taking that information as obviously, kind of creating paralysis because the CBC don't want to take they don't want the US government to take any aggressive against Ethiopia. But Ethiopia is deteriorating. There's nobody can save it, and especially when UN still refuse to talk about Oromo, still refuse to engage with the Oromo arms group or with the Oromo voice in any way. And by talking to people like Shimalis, is a mockery in one hand. On the other side, the US, if they are interested in democracy, stability, why is the pro-democracy voice are ignored in silence and not being heard? And that was very frustrating. And Abiy is literally like, I don't give a shit, excuse my French. It's like, middle finger. Who arrested over 70 truck driver today as Tigray are starving from starvation. I don't know. I'll leave it at there. I don't know if you want to add anything, and if not, I'll jump you to.
Yeah. I just want to add a few things. Like you said, those 17 truck drivers who are detained in Samara town are a mockery to UN. There were, those truck drivers were transporting basic commodities for World Food Program to the Tigray region, and detaining them already, constrain the work of United Nations. And I want to just, take on the point you said. If you don't want to negotiate with the, other non-state actors like Oromo Revolution Front who are taking arm, the Benshangul Gumuz, I don't know what other parties that the government want to negotiate with. Oromia region, like the president is not party to this conflict, and that is the only, what point I want to add on that. Yeah, let's proceed.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as like a Oromia president, Shimali Tabisa is not party to this conflict, and OLA is party to this conflict. And we obviously, have preached for nonviolence, have supported and stand on that side as a human rights organization that speak for everybody. But yet it shows you how UN is joking. Even US is really not speaking about the pro-democracy and nonviolence movement, but they want stability, they want peace in Ethiopia. But what they're doing, what they have done, have shown to be contrary to what they say, what they preach, and what they do is different. And I think the fact of the matter is, I'll say it again. This week I had a chance to meet with a few Senate officers, and reality has seen there is no stability in Ethiopia nor Horn of Africa without answering the Oromo question. That is the fact of the matter. One thing I feel like we are proud in the last 1 year we have accomplished is that we have taught the international community exactly who Oromo is. Exactly, it doesn't matter who might have a gun, who might come to power. There will not be stability, there will not be peace in Horn or Ethiopia without answering the Oromo question. The Oromo is the big elephant in the room. The Oromo must be addressed properly. Yes, okay, with this, let me jump into the question. I'll take your thought on the mass arrest of the Tigrayan. And I think there was some social media circulating that up to a couple of dozen Tigrayans were executed by Abiy after they were arrested from their home. And then as well as also, let's talk a little bit about the bombing. Wallo, there are three Wallos. There are Wallo on the Amhara side, there are Special Oromia Zone Wallo, and then there are the Tigray side of Wallo. So TPLF and OLA have controlled almost all the three sides of Wallo, yet predominantly Abiy have been bombing Wallo in the Oromia side. In the international communities, we just finished our Twitter campaign, which is very successful. A lot of people tweeted. Thank you so much, everybody that took part in Twitter. And I would definitely urge all of our audience, young people, to be please active and participate on this campaign. This is how we raise about it. I want to take your thought on both of them: the mass arrest that's going on and the kidnapping of Oromo kids aged 14 and 15 to be sent to the war, and the killing of Tigray and Addis, as well as the bombing in Wallo Kana.
Yeah, first of all, let me speak on the aspect of taking children by force to the war front, which is devastating. That a state is so desperate that they want to now kill their own future generation by force. I saw that video, in the courtesy of Tigray media, where young children were lied to. They were told to be being taken to a rehabilitation, and they end up in Kombolcha. If they try to come back, the government commanders killing them from the backside. That shows the inhumanity of the government of the day. These children are literally, most of them are below 15 years, and that is a violation of UN Convention on the Involvement of Children in Armed Conflict. And let me take on the aspect of bombing civilians. Today I was listening to Oromia Media Network report where Ola, through the spokesperson Oda Tarbi, has laid, they have overtaken the southern shower zone, and then the government now literally going door to door and killing the family of allegedly Oromos who are joined the rebels to fight against the government, executing them publicly. There were pregnant mothers, there were children. These are innocent civilians, and it shows that the rule of law is already been suspended in Ethiopia. It's no longer working there. And the bombing of the civilians, because the rebels are in the area. Rebels were spotted in Kamise a long time ago. If the government had hope that they are going to redo what the rebels are doing, they should have worked better with the civilian, through able to convincing them to join their political vehicles instead of bombing them, bombing their properties and civilians. And these are what the international medias are not reporting against the Oromos that's happening. Everyone is talking about TPLF. Everyone is talking about Tigray, Amara region. What about the Oromos? Where are their cries? Where are the regional human rights organization? These are devastating. It's high time that the international community condemns such acts. It's high time we are condemning with the strongest time possible that the civilians should not be harmed. The innocent children should not be recruited to join the armed force by force. And it's devastating that the government is not constraining or restraining from doing such injustice to our future generation. Let me stop it there.
Kana, you're actually when you're talking about the bombing, the non-stop bombing that's happening particularly in Kamise area that have killed. According to I think your media I was listening to, they say there was about 105 POW, Ethiopian federal military or troops that were captured and they were being transported to Megale, and the government used drone to bomb that, and it killed instantly 36 people, and a lot of them were injured. And international community have not said anything. And it took me back to Obasanjo, that he made a mockery. He met with Shimalis, who is extension of Abiy. In that case, why don't he sit down with all of Abiy cabinet, and if they represent Oromo, because if they represent Oromo, you will not have Oile. Oromo are not represented by Abiy. I think it was a mistake to me. It is very frustrating that international community continue to look the other way for answer when they have the answer in their hand. When Ajwar Mohammed predicted this exact scenario 2 years ago, he has said this exact scenario 2 years ago, what's going to happen, and happen, and yet the international community don't even want to mention his name, don't want to talk about that. The pro-democracy force that came and brought change 3 years ago, that brought Abiy to power, and they are forgotten. And how is the Obasanjo is going to, how is the AU or the UN is going to have a dialogue, a peaceful dialogue, or try to have a dialogue when they're not mentioning, when they're not including Oromos in their conversation? That is one frustrating, and it shows that, you have all three. Kombolcha is taken by TDF. Desi is taken by TDF. Abiy did not bomb, all of that, but an area that's taken by Oile, Abiy is bombing. And to me, it sends a message. For one, obviously, for years, Abiy have said that the international community do not really care about the Oromo people. I mean, that's what he's been robbing. And the silence of the international community obviously sadly does reflect what he said to be the truth, but I really don't believe that all either. But on the other side, what do you think? I mean, you say that OLA and TDF are making advanced tour at this, and they're coming less than 200 kilometers away from the capital city, and OLA have said that they have their forces in within the capital city, or at least in the suburb of the capital city. What do you my advice is for those Oromo people who are still part of the government, who still think somehow Abiy represents a decency of humanity, let alone even Oromo. How come the bombing of Wallo, it is okay? It doesn't even get talked about it. How long would those people who are fighting for Abiy, especially the Oromos, I can understand the Amharas who are fighting for Abiy to keep this regime in power because it is advancing their case. But sadly, the number one loser in this game is more than anybody is the Amhara elite, because they perpetuated, they made this war what it is. They got Abiy to here. But I think my advice for those people fighting on the government side, the war have ended. The war have ended. It is so important that everybody protect their community, fight for their own people, fight for their own city, region, county, whatever it is, that stop killing, stop trying to demand the bombing in Wallo must stop, demand that the killing among Oromos, they should not be, it doesn't matter who. I think right now is that killing has to stop. If there is anybody that to be killed, everybody should go back to their own territory and protect. And so let me take your thought on the what they should do. What the people still with the Abiy who think that the PP have failed. The PP, there's this mockery also that makes me that surprised me is that Blene Suyum, I know you did listen to the interview, she was on CNN yesterday. Abiy is elected by the people for first time democracy or something like that. I don't really remember the exact terms she used, but she said the first democratic election in Ethiopia. According to who? Because long before the election, everybody know there's no possibility to have fair and free election. Even for the first time, the international community, the US, the EU have openly said for the first time, Ethiopia has been having a sham election for years. Should be having a sham election since 1998, the first or 96, they have the first election. They've been having sham election, yet for the first time, the US have said this could not be possibly fair or free election. That kind of sham election is held, and here she is to say that Abiy represents the true voice of the people. If Abiy does represent it, why is all this armed struggle speaking against him? Why is people like Jawar Mohammed, Bakala Garba, who are peaceful, non-violent leaders, are in prison? They are nearly, for about 50,000 Oromos still remains behind bar. And today they go to door to hunt for little kids. On one of the media, I think it was TMH media, there was 15 years old kid. He said he was going to school to pick up his card for his grade, and he was told to register his name. He registered his name. The next thing they know that he was sent to the war zone. He didn't know how to shoot. He said they couldn't go back because the Amharas was shooting them from behind, so they have to move forward. And somehow he surrendered to TPLF, and he survived. And he's so young. I mean, how can Abiy be elected by anybody, by himself and those elites who have been in power? And I'll say one thing and I'll end it. What made me happy was the face of his cabinet, the face of the parliament, how they looked so broken. That made me happy because the reality is finally sinking, because it was just less than a month ago, Abiy had a party that, invited, spent the last however, millions of Ethiopian birr that he spent on his inauguration, invited this 5 or 6 who decided to participate on him. I want you to add on that one with that Kana. I want you to, if you have anything to add on that angle, as well as the Amnesty International report, take something, and I want us to wrap up.
Yeah, exactly. What I want to say, the sad side about this Ethiopian conflict is that innocent civilians are dying on daily basis, and no one seems to be care. International media seem not to care anything about them. And you saw what is happening is that all the international media is talking about Tigrays, Tigrays, the civilians. Yeah, injustice has happened to Tigrays, but more injustice is happening to Oromos. And innocent civilians are losing their life on daily basis, and no one is talking about this. And the world should open its eyes The world should be friend of Oromos. The world should be, with them. They are dying. They are also human beings. Yeah, I'm so devastated sometimes when I talk about this. I'm so emotional. Let me stop with that.
I hear you, especially as advocacy, that on a weekly basis we meet with the officials, we meet with the elected officials and educate them, give them this report, give them some publication, because as you know, there is no international media that covers about Oromo. We are the first one that did a Twitter campaign on the bombing on Wallo. The bombing on Wallo did not happen one time. There was about 7 bombing that happened in Tigray that killed about 3 people, and they bombed universities and residential areas, and everybody talked about it. You have the Wallo that's been bombing for about 5-6 days, and nobody talks about it. And that sends really bad message to the international community, and to the U.S. in particular, that is doing double dipping. Went to democracy and stability in the region, particularly in Ethiopia. U.S. and Ethiopia have a very deep, over century-old relationship. Ignoring Oromos continuously to ignoring or forgetting or not paying attention to pro-democracy voice is absolutely, I think that's what get them there. Here, it's frustrating, just like you. It's frustrating for us because we sit with this elected official from Europe to America, and yet they don't really say anything. They almost like a willful ignorance, intentional ignorance, and yet they wonder, we are concerned, we are this and that, and so it's very unfortunate. That's what I think. On the other side that I want to add, we have about 5 minutes, Kana, is okay. I'll talk a little bit about upcoming we having a discussion with the community. I don't want to give too much detail about the roadmap. The BOC, one of the organizations that we work with, Allah works with, we are part of it. I am part of that meeting. Right now, Ethiopia, finally the whole world have understood Ethiopia as an empire for what she is. It makes me sad to see an Oromo man, and anybody actually for that fact the matter, that still support this regime, this genocidal regime. Everybody's going to pay for it. This supported enabling this government. It is so unfortunate that it's still justified, the killing, the bombing of Oromo, the starvation of Tigray, the rape of Tigray women, the rape of Oromo mothers. There's so many in our report, Kana. I remember the report that you published, 177 people from East Guji, if I'm not mistaken. Among those are women with their babies in prison for over a year and a half. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody says anything about it. And then the West and America and the international community wonder why the Ethiopia is falling apart so far. And I think it's for the first time. The Ethiopians are rising up. Oromos have said enough. It is so unfortunate there are certain people, especially Oromos, who are still okay not speaking against, not making a noise that against the bombing in Wallo. That I don't know what it will take for Oromos to get out of this guy. I mean, people like Shimalas, these are, yes, technically they're Oromo, but they're Nafteñas because they are okay with the system. They want to maintain the status quo. They want to keep Ethiopia as it is. They want to bring back Ethiopia of the empire era, the one that our fathers have died for it. So the roadmap we're working on, I just want to mention that, and I'll give you the last 3 minutes, is we're working on this roadmap that we feel like we as Ethiopians really have to charter what country we want to be in, whether that is country as it is right now under federalism, or whether it is under confederation as the nine ethnic group that signed the 9 armed group that signed agreement about a little bit less than a week ago. I feel nevertheless Ethiopia as the world know, Ethiopia as illusion for history of 3,000 years is coming to an end. What should the international community do? What should the Oromo people do? What do the people who are still on the PP side should do? I'll take your thought on that one, and I'll give you, and then we can end the Kana.
Yeah, exactly. We are not honest with our political reality of the day, and whenever people deny the truth, the injustice keep happening. Look at the report we write on the daily basis. Most of our people are extrajudicially executed, are not taken to court. When people are not taken to court, the justice is denied. Millions of mothers, Oromo mothers, are with their children in the jail. When the political reality is not addressed, injustice keep happening, and our people shows that the government is not true with itself. and we must keep doing what should be done. And then the international community should, be on their real side instead of denying, instead of following led, like Benshangul Gumus, that Gambella should be involved in this, negotiation. And that is why the international community should come with terms and, really emphasize led, because the rebels are just there. Or people are dying, millions of people are dying. Look at the displacement that's happening over Oromia, and no one speaks. Look at people who are taken out of jail because their friend joined OLN. If my friend joined OLN is 18 years and above, how does that crime, why should that crime follow me? And that is the bitter truth. And let me tell you, the injustice that's happening is the injustice of century. And the good thing is the empire is collapsing. And whenever the empire collapses, the reality will hit the ground, and international community should, will be living with the reality in the future. Let me tell you.
Okay. With that, I want to thank you, Kana. I agree with you, and I'll echo what you say, that the empire is collapsing. And where we are, civil war or war is bad, there's no winner on West Side. There's only losers. And for as oppressed people that have been neglected, intentionally ignored, the collapse of this nation, of this empire, is a good news. It's a music to our ears. It is something that we've been crying. Finally, the reality is catching up with Ethiopians. The Naftalians, those are in power, that are okay the system. They're okay as long as they can get rich. They can rob the country while the poor pays for it. Today, there are over 30,000 Oromo refugees in Yemen. Hundreds of them were burned alive. In Yemen, Oromo refugees are treated as a slave in 21st century. Nobody is speaking for them. We talked to, luckily we're making some progress on that end. We don't want to talk too much about it, and hopefully, that comes to fruition, and we continue to engage and be voice for the Yemen, for Saudi. But as an Oromo, in every corner, in Sudan, South Sudan, in Yemen, in Kenya, the Oromos are the forgotten refugee. And there's a publication that we're working on it. It's a very long document. We did an interview, as well as research we did, how the Oromo refugees are seen. Even within refugees, you have the Somalis, you have other in the region, and then you have other ethnic group who are given more priority in the UN, and Oromos are treated. But it's the end of the empire, as we know. That gives me a hope that the bright days are yet to come for Ethiopians, whether Ethiopia as an empire remained or not. I want to thank all of our viewers, and please continue to share and write to us. And I see a lot of comment that while we're speaking in English, let me just take a few minutes and give you a chance. So this is basically, there's Oromo media. There's a lot of Oromo media that tends to cover the Oromo side, but there are a lot of non-Oromo speakers. Some of them are Oromo, most of them are non-Oromos, who would like to understand the Oromo perspective, including elected officials. So it is our way of engaging them, to kind of tell them what's going on this side of the issue. International community is interested. You've seen it for the first time, UN Security Council talk about Oromo, OLA, and even Obasanjo went as far as to mention specifically Shemeles, as if Shemeles is anything extension of outside of Abiy, even though they're making a mockery joke. But I think there's still a lot of progress that makes me happy. And so we use English to kind of engage our non-Oromo speaking audience. We do intend to use some conversation in Afaan Oromo. And my last remark in Afaan Oromo is yeroon dhumee jira. Yeroo kana keessatti namni keenya tokko nama walitti dhukaasa qabuun qabu. Naannoo warri mootummaaf dalagaa jirtanii qawwee keessan gara mootummaa yookiin mana keessatti deebisaa. Jijjiirraan hin dhufa. Jijjiirraa kana immoo addunyaan ka eegaa jirtu, ka laalaa jirtu Oromoodha. Carraan samiirraallee dhufee ardii dhufee kan Oromooti. Oromoon bilcheessinee as geessinee jirra. Sagaleen keenya dhagahamtee jirti. Eenyummaan keenya beekamee jira. Amma booda wanni taatu, wanni kuftuu Oromoodhaaf kufti malee walaa Amaara, walaa Tigree, walaa saba biraa akka jedhu hin jiru. Impaayera sanii warra kara noorziin bulaa ture ofishaalee caccabsineetiin irra oollee jirra. Ka fuulduraa kana akkamitti Oromoon biyya san bulchiti, akkamitti Oromoon biyya ofii bulchiti kan jedhu sun haasaa Oromoo keessa jiru mariin dhiyeenya kana dhufutti jiru roodmaappii irratti exactly san dubbataa jira. Sabaaf sablammii wajjin haasawutti jirra. Akkamitti impaayera sanii akkaataan itti deemuu qabu oluma kaaneetti ma hadha qawweedhaan aangootti dhufanii aangoon bulchan. Daaloogiitti dhufuuf deema, marii dhufuuf deema, mootummaa coomsaa dhufuuf deema. Mootummaa coomsaa dhufu kana keessatti bakki Oromoo maalidha? Because sabaaf sablammii martinuu Oromoo eegaa jirti. Oromoo eegaa turte, Oromoo eegaa jirti har'allee. Even warummaa Tigraallee. Nuti garuu ofii keenya makiinaa oofuu waan hin beeknee fi nama ergamuu malee erguu waan hin dandeenyee fi nama biraa eegaa jirra. Kanaafiyyuu kana fudhannee yeroo gabaabaa kana keessatti weekendii kana keessatti waa'ee roodmaappii irraallee ni dubbannee jenna. I think akka yaada kiyyatti kana yeroon Oromootti dhukaasan, yeroo namni akka Shimallis, namni akka Awwaluu, nama nagaa akka Jawaar hidhee itti kofluu, itti wanna jedhu sun dabree jira. Abbaan fe'e yoo du'e qabsoon kun fuulduratti ceetee Oromoon kan kanfalee jira gahaa ofii amma booda kanfaluuf hin deemuun jedha. Ani kana ala wanna jedhuun qabu kana yaada dhumaa yoo qabaatte afaan Oromootii fi audiensii kennaa fi yoo hin ta'ini we are already over jirra galatoomis jechuu barbaada.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yaada dhumaan qabdu. No, waa dubbataa.
Yeah. Yaada dhumaa kan qabu hoggaa mootummaan isaanii jeesu report godha report nuuf dabarsaa kan jedhu barbaadu warra audience Oromoo kan. Are you still? It's okay man.
Okay, network kan keettu rakkoo
It's okay.
Itti fufi yaalii jedhe. You network is
yeah, can you hear me right now?
Go ahead and take 1 second.
Okay, let's close.
Thank you everybody for joining us. It was really nice to have this weekly discussion.